control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. This is the Night Terrors, and hope you guys are having a great night. Thank you so much for joining me here on the show. I really appreciate it. Just over an hour ago, I was on Hidden Existence with Daniela Agliolo, and had a great time with her and the Blue Line Bigfoot boys, and Carrie stopped in on the tail end of the expedition, so it was a good time, and got something really cool to show you guys. I'm going to give it a little bit of time because I want to make sure that everyone is in here, at least more are in here. I know people come in pretty slowly right off the bat, so hopefully we'll get more of you in here, and I can showcase what we captured tonight during that show. And actually, I didn't even know it. But it was brought to my attention by Adam of Blue Line Bigfoot. He's like, hey, while you were talking before we came on, I saw something that you should know. And sure enough, I got done with the show, checked it out, went frame by frame. It's very strange. It's a great capture, and it was a fantastic catch on his part because it's not really over the top. It's a little subtle, but it's definitely there, and I'm really excited to show you guys what we caught during that filming, and special thanks to Daniela for letting me use that footage on the show here tonight. It's really cool, and it's a little departure from the normal Night Terrors, but it should be pretty good, so it's just exciting stuff, man. Exciting stuff. It's always cool to catch things, and I think these things happen all the time, but the phone lines will be open during the duration of the show, so you can call in 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. So that's the number to call in if you've got something to share or if you got a comment on anything about the show. So would love to hear from you. That's always cool. But I guess on the front end, that's about all I got. So I hope you're ready, because it's time for bed. Oh, yeah, Titan. I should have done that. I should have put out more of a notice that I was going to be on that show. My apologies. I've been so busy chasing my own tail, and I knew I had to remember it for myself, but I guess it's for some reason or another, and it's my own stupidity, I guess. I never really talked about it here, but yeah, I was just on, just head over to Hidden Existence over on YouTube. Look for Hidden Existence, and that's Daniela's channel, and she does a great job. It was a lot of fun. Daniela and I have hosted together many, many times. I've filled in for Carrie many times on the Researchers Report on Bigfoot Odyssey channel, so it was just like old times getting back together with Daniela and doing a show, so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, you're right. I guess I did drop the ball on that. Just life is crazy anymore, and I'm trying to keep up with it, but yeah, it was kind of a rookie move. You're right. Good point, Titan. My apologies. I didn't let you guys know, but it's there. It's on the channel, recorded for posterity. If you want to go check it out, it was a good time. Some good laughs, and just just getting together with friends, is what it felt like. So I always love being on the shows over there, whether it's Bigfoot Odyssey or the Hidden Existence now. So very cool. But welcome to the show, guys. This is the Night Terrors. This is our shorter format of the Paranormal Portal, and where we cover mostly ghost stories, but not exclusively. I mean, we do deviate from time to time with different subjects because, people request them. So if you ever have a request of a show you'd like to hear, just message me on email if you would. I would love to cover a topic that you guys would love to hear. So just give me an email and tell me what you want to hear, and I'll be happy to do a show about it. But let's see. I guess we can probably get into that now. It's kind of holding steady at however many are in here. I don't know. I can't trust this counter anymore because I don't know what the hell numbers are. It went down to like 4. It went down to 4. And now it's climbing back up. So I don't know what the hell's going on. The counters are weird on this version of the YouTube studio I'm using, which is getting phased out. So I got to get the new one working. I test drove it a few times and have had trouble still. So still trying to iron that out. But anyway, welcome to the show. I guess we should probably lead off with what happened on the Hidden Existence show. It was really pretty cool. So Daniela and I were talking, and it was just at the front end of the show. So the anomaly that we're talking about comes in at about the 4 minutes, 57 second mark, according to YouTube counter. And it's, well, I guess I'll just have to show you what it is. So let me just pull this up and get it on the big screen for you guys. Make sure you zoom in as much as you can. Make it full screen if it's not, because you're going to want to see this, I promise. Well, at least I hope you do. But it's a pretty fantastic capture, I think. So let me get it up on screen here. So this is Danielle and I on the show when we were doing the show just a little bit ago. And let me pull up my OBS so I can see for sure. Now, the area you're going to want to pay attention to is up in here. And this is right here. So my studio room is lit by just some overhead lights. They're just normal overhead. It was still daylight too. So I had a little bit of daylight leaking in and just the overhead lights. Now the area here is what you want to look at. And what I want to point out first is that in my studio, I have no directional lights. There's no like little spotlights or any directional lights at all. It's just a normal incandescent bulb up above me, and there's no sunbeams coming in, because the afternoon sun is not visible from this room, from the studio room. So it's not like there's sunlight coming in somewhere creating those sunbeams. What you're going to see is something manifest about here where my mouse is, if you can see that on the screen, and it's going to travel like this and then disappear. Now, this is a black curtain on the wall. It's on the wall, right up to the wall. There's not any space. It's not sitting out at all. This is literally pressed against the wall back there. So there's nothing here, but the light anomaly comes in about here, drifts over here, goes down, and disappears by about here. As far as I can tell, it's very likely an orb. But let's play through this, and you guys can see what we captured. All right, I think I'm ready to get the sound up. Okay.
There'll be some good comes out of this, but
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yep. It's a real cool time, but I think that the other cool thing is that we have at our fingertips. Did you see that? Let's look at it again. All right, so let's go back to here. And again,
find out. So hopefully there'll be some good comes out of this, but
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yep. It's a real cool time, but I think that the other cool thing is that we have at our fingertips. So there it was again. Let's look at it one more time, and then we'll start breaking this down piece by piece and frame by frame. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yep. It's a real cool time, but I think that the other cool thing is that we have. Okay, so you see where it appears over this warning sign, warning ghost sign. It's literally something the cardboard thing I picked up at the dollar store a long time ago, but it appears right about here into the frame, and I zoomed in way in and did a frame by frame, and it just pops into existence right about here, and travels over and goes down and suddenly fades out right here. There is no obstruction here. There's nothing it could have just flown behind as if it were just a bug. There's no flapping wings visible. It is just a very muted orb, just a little fraction, like this one of the smallest orbs I've ever seen. But it is, I'm really pretty sure that what we've captured here could very well be an orb. I can't find any reason for it. Now, again, this is all even lighting in here. It's not like just, oh, it fell out of the light beam and that's why it fades out, as if it were maybe a bug or something. If you got like a floodlight on out in your house and you watch a bug, it'll fly around in the light beam. Once it goes out of the light beam, it turns invisible. This is no such lighting in this room. There's no such lighting. It's all even lighting here. So it comes in, it goes down, goes out, just disappears, fades out right here. There is nothing it could have gone behind. It has even lighting again, so there's nothing it could have gone behind. It just is there. So I'm going to back this up kind of, I guess I'll do it about here. This is 4 minutes, 57 seconds into the show, and I'm going to go frame by frame because Daniela just taught me how to do this, and this helps. So I'm just going to click frame by frame, and we'll see where it comes in here. Is it working? Yep. Okay, Daniela started blinking there. Okay, now here it comes. It's right. It's just popping into existence right here. There was just a little shade of change there. I wish there was a way to back up a frame, but anyway, we'll just continue going forward here. Let's see. Okay, continuing to go here, but there it is. And it starts to move, and there it is into the painted area. It's off of the poster now. It's in between. It's a very steady light. Now, there's no flickering as if it were a bug. You would probably see like some kind of anomaly from frame to frame from the flapping of the wings, but it's a very steady light. There's no pattern to it or any frequency to it. It's just there and drifting slowly. And frame by frame we're going, it goes down. Now there is nothing hanging off of that side wall, which over in this area there is a wall off camera, but it would be over here. There's nothing protruding from that wall that it could have just disappeared behind. So again, continuing on, frame, 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 and it's fading. And it's gone, as if it just disappeared behind something. But there's nothing there for it to disappear behind. It's like that's just where it phased out. So that is the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, there's no explanation for it that I can figure out. Now, that doesn't mean that there couldn't be. It's just I can't think of any reason why that should appear and disappear in that spot. Again, I'm going frame by frame. Okay, there's Daniela's eyes closing, and there the anomaly is just starting, and it's starting right here is where you see the light start to shift. Right in that first frame there, that light just shifted right here, and right off the whatever this is. And so continuing on, and it's not reflective to a big degree. There's a little bit of a gloss on there, but not enough to be a light reflection off of something. But let's continue here. There it is. More brightly, and now it's moving. So it popped in and starts gliding, and it's going over and over. I'm going a little faster now, and there it's starting to fade, and it's still continuing at the same fade level, and then boom, it's like it just ducked behind something, and then boom, it's actually gone. So I don't know. It's really a profound capture, though. I mean, that's the first visual anomaly that I've ever seen while doing the show captured. Now, I'm not suggesting there aren't others out there, but somebody would really have to point it to me. I don't have time to go through my own shows frame by frame, but given what we just learned about this house, this could be, tied to that. It could be just tied to the show. I don't know. But that is definitely a strange anomaly, ladies and gentlemen. Let's watch it one more time at regular speed, and we'll leave it at that. You be the judge.
But
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yep. It's a real cool time, but I think that the other cool thing is that we have at our fingertips. There you go. Now I've seen orbs with my naked eye. I mean, I have seen orbs with my naked eye, and the ones I've seen are very vibrant. They're very, very pronounced. But whatever this one is, and what I think is going on here is that these cameras are sensitive to a wider display range than our eyes are, or perhaps there's gaps in our eyes, in our natural vision, that the cameras are, fluidly consistent on. So there may be something in there that they can see better than we can, and that's why it captures those, lighter anomalies. But I am just absolutely thrilled to have seen that. The chat is just flying. So I think it might be catching up, but I would, I hope you guys liked it. Let's get to the phone here. We got a phone call, so let's get to this. This is area code 417. You're on the air.
Hey, Brent, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Who are we talking to?
This is Ruby Ridge.
Ruby Ridge.
I've been debating calling in. Yeah.
Okay, hi.
Debating calling in, so I figured I would.
Oh, very cool, man. Thanks for calling in. It's always great to hear from people. So, what's on your mind tonight, brother?
I want to say hi. Well, I want to say hi to everybody in the chat: Jake, Robin, Deborah, and all them. I got a ghost story for you.
Oh, beautiful.
That happened to some people whenever I was a kid, and I'll try and make it as short as possible.
Oh, take all your time you want.
We moved from a big Midwest city when I was like in second grade, and we moved to the country to a trailer court. This wasn't a mobile home community. This was a trailer court. And the trailer court was a older one, and they had started to build on in the back. So you've got your main circle of the old court, and then in the back they had started the second circle. So if you want a picture from there, it's like a figure 8. Well, second grade, this place was just full of kids. So as soon as I got there, they just wanted to show me around and show me all the ins and outs and all the cool places around the trailer court. And we get to the back of the trailer court, and there's this great big hill, and there's no snag of a tree standing up there. And they said, that's the hanging tree.
Oh.
And of course, we were like, really? I said, yeah. Yeah. So at midnight, on like a full moon at midnight, so on and so forth, you can see a guy hanging from this tree.
Oh.
And everybody who had moved to this trailer court, all the kids that had moved to this trailer court, I don't know how many years back, had been told this. The older kids knew about it. So as time went on, I got older and more kids moved in, and we'd take them back and we'd show them the hanging tree, and it was just like, everybody knew where it was. And we would get together and we'd go down there and we'd watch at midnight and see. Of course, we never saw nothing.
Uh-huh.
Fast forward to, I'm a senior in high school, and I had my old car tore apart, so I'm riding the bus. And there was a family who lived, we was like 5 miles out in the country, and there was a family who lived on a farm on our bus route.
Mm-hmm.
And Lori was in my class, and I'm changing names. Lori was in my class, and her little brother was Rick. And they get on the bus one Monday morning, and Rick had a friend come spend the night with him. Well, they get on the bus, and Rick and this buddy they're just yawning, and I said, man, what is wrong with you? Grew up with these people, knew them our whole childhood.
Uh-huh.
Man, what is up with you? And he said, oh, we didn't sleep. I said, why didn't you sleep? And this buddy says, because Rick's guitar kept playing all night. And I said, well, you shouldn't have stayed up all night playing music. And he said, no, I wasn't playing it. It was in the case under the bed.
Oh, my God.
And I said, do what? And he said, we go to bed, and my guitar just started strumming in the case. And I'm a musician. I'm like, that don't happen. You can close the case. It's there. And he said, no, really, it did.
Wow.
And his sister, Lori, gets bent out of shape, tells him to shut up, don't be spreading lies, on and on. We go on to school.
Mm-hmm.
Week later, 3 or 4 days later, whatever. He gets on the bus back to the back right to me, and he said, "You are not going to believe what happened last night." I said, "What happened?" He said, "Dad," and they lived on a little old farm there. He said, "Dad jumped all over me for leaving the light on in the barn."
Uh-huh.
And he said, "And I shut that light off." And I said, "Okay, did you really?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I go to the kitchen window, I go to the sink to get a drink of water, and I look out the window, and that light's back on." He said, "Dad drug me out there, made me turn it off. We get back to the kitchen, and it's back on." And I told Dad, and he said, "Come on, let's go." He said, so we walked back out there at the barn again, like, it was like 10 o'clock at night. He said, we rounded the corner, and here is this guy. We just seen it for a second hanging from the rafters.
Oh,
and I
no.
said, "Rick, you're nuts." And he says, "Really, man, really?" So after we got off the bus, I got talking to Lori about it, and she said, "Well," said, "that's what they claim, but I don't believe it." And I said, "Well, you might want to check into it. Never can tell, you know."
Right, yeah.
So it gets bothering her, and her dad sees this like every night, and he's getting pretty bent out of shape about it.
Mm-hmm.
She starts digging through old records, and she goes to the newspaper in this little old town we lived in.
Okay.
And her uncle, I forget what his name was, her uncle was a famous musician, did all the barn dances, did weddings, on and on and on. He played the fiddle, he played guitar, he was a banjo picker. Died on the farm, mysterious cases.
Oh, man.
Well, she gets quizzing her grandma, which would have been her uncle's mom,
Mm-hmm.
and he hung himself in the barn. And back then, when that happened, they just didn't talk about it. It was just a freak farm accident,
Sure.
and they buried him at the back of the property.
Oh, my
The
God.
back of the property backs up to the trailer court, and they buried him under that tree.
Oh, geez.
So that was a story that comes full circle over, like, what, 10, 12 years?
That's amazing.
So it kind of verified itself. Yeah, I thought it was just a cool story until she told me that, and I was like, ooh, that's kind of creepy.
It really
I
is.
spent most of my childhood sitting in the dark waiting for your uncle to show up.
You're watching for that tree to start showing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard telling how long that story had been told around there
Right.
about that being the hanging tree.
Man.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
That's
All right, I'll let y'all go.
Well, you
Jake,
know.
be careful, bud. See my buddy Jake there in the chat.
All right.
We'll
brother.
see you, man. Appreciate it.
Okay, take care, man.
Uh,
That's awesome. Oh, geez. I just put the next guy on the next call is on the air. You're 845. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Brent, it's Carlton. How are you doing?
Hey, Carlton. I thought I accidentally hung up on you. I just unmuted it. Good. Because he hung up his call at the same time I was going to remute it. And then, boom, I was actually clicking on yours. But no, we're good. We're good. How you doing, brother?
Hey, don't worry. Don't worry, Brent. I don't go away that easy. I'll keep calling. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good, man. I'm just totally in a zone here after, catching that orb. After Adam saw that orb, that was just like, wow. What do you think? Did you watch the footage?
Dude, that was really cool. I'm glad you shared that with us. I didn't catch the first couple times because every time you replayed it, my stream glitched on me here. And I was like, oh, no. But then the last time you did, I was able to see it.
Okay,
and,
good.
that's really interesting. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, me either. I can't make any sense of it because there's nothing it could have hidden behind, like disappeared behind as if it were just a bug. And so, yeah, just as a solid capture as far as I can tell.
Yeah, for sure. I know I Am Pam said in the chat, maybe it's your dad looking over you. I think that's a cool concept to at least think about.
Yeah, I like to think he's around every once in a while, and I hope that that's true, rather than the alternative. It's somebody that doesn't like me.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm hoping it's your dad going, hey, I got your back, literally.
Yeah, exactly. What's on your mind tonight, brother?
Well, a couple things. You were talking about how different you mentioned in an earlier part of the show here how technology may be another way for us to see stuff that we ordinarily wouldn't see with the naked eye.
Right.
And I just wanted to point out to you, I shared a link in the chat over on MeWe with you last night, but I doubt you've seen it. I'm sure you've been as busy as I have. But there's a new video out from a YouTube channel called Zohar Stargate. Are you familiar with them?
Oh, sure I am. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, well, there's one out of a guy talking about different technologies and stuff, and he goes into, he actually went and explored a bunch of different caves, and there was like a religious church island he explored, and he goes into some of his crazy experiences there, and he ties it into David Paulides and all sorts of paranormal stuff. About an hour-long talk, really worth checking out, so just thought I would bring your attention to that.
Oh, for sure.
That's item one.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I will check it out. I haven't seen it yet. You're right, but I will. I will look for it, man.
You're welcome, and I'll drop the link in chat so everybody can follow to that easily.
Perfect.
So the other thing was the last caller. That was a really interesting story, and he's talking about the lights going on and off, and that reminded me of something that used to happen in the old house where my brother lived before he died. And then I know I've told this before, but for someone who hasn't heard it, he died in that. Not in the house, but died when he was living there, and then my girlfriend and I moved in after him, and we had all sorts of weird paranormal activity go on there. But one of the things that happened all the time was the light in the hall would get turned on and off.
Oh, really?
And that light was on a three-way. What's that?
That's right. I remember you talking about that before. Yeah.
Yeah. So that light was on a three-way switch, and so we'd hear the switch click, and be like, what was that? We'd get up from the living room and go look. The light would be on. We'd turn it off, walk back in the living room. 5 minutes later, you'd hear the click. We'd go back out. Light would be on again. We'd go upstairs, go to bed, shut the light off, go to, lay down, hear the click out in the hall, come back out, lights on again. It was just constantly messing with us, like it was just playing tricks, and we always kidded that maybe it's Chris, he's just messing around with us, but
Right.
we never really did come to any good answer with what was behind it.
Would that be true to his nature? Would that be something he would do?
I could see him doing something like that, especially moved over to the other world or whatever is beyond this physical life we live. I could see him doing it, but then again, I had so many other strange experiences in that house. I'm not sure it was him.
Oh, okay.
All kinds of weird stuff happened in that place, man. It's crazy.
You should catalog some of those or make bullet points about them and come on and do a podcast with me and share some of those.
That would be awesome. I'd love to talk about that, and I've had several other strange experiences. And I'll make a point of sitting down here in the next week or so and writing things out so I can remember them all and at least time my head into the multiple stories because they kind of come back to my mind as you do the show here and different discussions come up. They remind me of things that have happened. So I will do that, and I'd love to do that.
Okay.
I love your show. I want to let you get on with the show and handle other callers or other things. But thanks as always, Brent, and look forward to more awesome content from the Paranormal Portal. And shout out to all my peeps out there in the chat.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much. And just send me an email and let me know when you're available, and we'll make it happen.
All right. Sounds good. We'll do, man.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good night, Brent.
All right. Yeah, that was awesome. Awesome. So we got possibly amazing paranormal footage. We've had amazing phone calls right off the bat. So I said bat. I meant bat. I don't know what happened to my tongue there. It's not a bat. It's a bat. Right off the bat, we had good calls. So, I'm loving this episode today. This is the kind of stuff that makes me get out of bed every day. It's like, I can't wait to do another show. But, participation is huge. I love it when you guys call in and share stories. Thank you both to both callers. That's excellent. If you just tuning in now, if you're just coming in, I hope you'll check out the beginning of the show. We did just showcase some footage that happened just a little over an hour ago and captures, I actually guess about 2 hours ago now, But we believe, or I believe, captured an orb right here in my studio. So I hope you'll rewatch that beginning if you missed it, because I think it's pretty profound. Personally, I've not caught anything like that before, and it definitely speaks to some of the weirdness that happens here in the portal. So, and there really aren't bugs out here yet. It's too early in the season. It's just gotten warm enough that that you go outside and you might see one thing fly by. Now later, when after spring is well established and stuff, sure there'll be bugs around but we're way too early for like bugs to have come in an open door or anything, and it doesn't have that frequency of like flapping wings that you see. So I'm pretty convinced. I can't be 100%, of course, but I'm pretty convinced that we caught something very, very cool and very anomalous. So definitely check it out if you did not see it already. I'm sorry if some of you were experiencing lag spikes. I seem to have a lot of them lately, and I don't know what the hell's going on with that either. My microphone was actually intermittently going dead there during the first phone call too. I don't know what was going on there, but it seems to be working now. So I guess happy times. Anyway, I got some stories to share with you guys, and of course in full. Oh, did I do this one? No, I did not. I don't think I read this one. I'm going to skip it, though, just in case, because I don't want to reread stories. Got some stories pulled up for you, and I hope that they entertain you as well as the first two callers have. I know I'm entertained. So this one is coming out of the state of Georgia, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me, I'm still a little froggy. It says, I've had some paranormal or ghost experiences when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I'm familiar with them. I was saved by Christ at 22 years old and have not dabbled or messed with them since. I'm now 48 years old. At least, not until recently. I've been married to the most wonderful woman for 17 years, and we have 3 kids, 11 through 14 years old. The eldest is fascinated with paranormal and plays with trying to catch EVPs, communicating, etc. Well, I've talked to him about this and possible dangers of opening doors, and he says that he isn't doing that, but I'm not so sure. My 11-year-old believes in ghosts, but is easily scared. My wife almost never argue, with the exception, I think it's my wife and I almost never argue, but with the exception of one night last October. We'd been involved in an online game and to cut a long story short, our trust in each other had broken down. It's probably World of Warcraft. that game wrecks more marriages than alcohol, I think. It was a night thick and ripe with terrible negative energy. Well, I work evenings, so we usually hit the sack at around 1 to 2 a.m. That night was no exception, except I lay on my back while awake. My wife fell fast asleep, eyes open, wide awake, just thinking about the events which led up to that point. The room is dimly lit by our alarm clocks when I saw something moving on top of our 6-foot dresser. Looking directly at it, saw nothing. But looking away was almost clearly visible. About the size of a beach ball, looked like a grayish light color mist that continuously rotated and flowed within itself. Not moving left or right at all, just in one place. Again and again I looked directly but saw nothing. But always at the corner of my eye, and this went on for maybe 1.5 hour, when something moved in the other side of my vision. And it seemed shorter, maybe 3 to 4 feet tall. I could see only its outline of its head and shoulders above the top of the bed line. I would not have seen it had it not moved like a chameleon, then it vanished. And at this point, I made my hearing as sensitive and alert as possible, but heard nothing out of the ordinary, just the calm quiet of early morning. All this was not scary. It was more of a, am I imagining this kind of thing? Shortly after I saw the second thing, I felt a tingling, almost electric feeling in my foot, and it flowed from my foot up my leg past my knee like flowing fluid feeling, but not really, but more an interaction with nerves, if that makes any sense. It was not unpleasant, so I just lay there motionless when it seemed something slipped between me and my sleeping wife and laid a leg over me. There was no physical pressure, just the sensation was there. Maybe a minute later, something else happened. I can't explain due to this PG-rated site, but something became fully ready from nothing at all in a very short time. Oh, come on, really? There was no physical touching, but was experiencing wave after wave of this. It was most enjoyable and sent my mind in a kind of euphoric bliss. The first 5 or so waves were strongest and occurred 5 to 10 seconds apart, then slowly subsided and the whole experience faded. No fireworks, so to say, and I drifted off to sleep. I didn't mention this the next day, was really wondering if it was my imagination, and I was watching for the same experience the next night, and it happened again. Everything from the mist, but didn't see the other figure. I mentioned it to my wife on the second night, who is a paranormal believer, and she's used to being around spirits and no big thing for her, and she asked me to see where it goes. Okay. I've seen the mist since that second night. I haven't seen the mist since that second night, and my marriage relationship is 100% better. I've been experiencing those waves almost every night, and they occur after she goes to sleep. I'm wide awake, wide-eyed, and sensitive as possible. Sometimes they are accompanied with sensations of deeply romantic kissing, a kind of frenzy, and the waves grow stronger. And I'm not fighting, but encouraging. I go from wide awake to kind of euphoria, and then it just vanishes. One time when the waves of euphoria were really, really strong, I opened my eyes and noticed my face was covered in a grayish-white mist, and it was flowing about, seen just above my face, and I recognized it as her. Did the air quotes there, because it's in quotes in the story. Found it quite nice and closed my eyes again. I was so curious to know if this was just my imagination, so I began working a pendulum and got some answers. I can post some of them later if you'd wish. My 11-year-old hasn't been able to sleep in his room since about September. He says he sees ghosts. Instead, he sleeps in the living room under a bright lamp. I thought it was just his imagination. Of course, neither my wife nor I have discussed my experience with the children, and last week she found my 11-year-old in our bathroom off our bedroom to brush his teeth, and he was just standing there frozen, eyes like saucers, and apparently he had watched someone walking back and forth in our bedroom that vanished in front of the bathroom door. I don't think anything is intentionally frightening him, more of an eek a ghost kind of thing. I don't usually remember dreams, and lately the ones I do remember have been highly erotic, and there have been a few nights where nothing is experienced in my waiting, and other times have had waves that were stronger than ever, and those seem to get stronger from time to time. I've read every story there is, and some with similar happenings, and I'm so very curious to know how those in particular think of this. Sounds like a kind of a succubus thing. I don't know. That's a strange one. He's just kicking back. He's laying next to his wife and he's kicking back, getting some side action cooking. Oh man. I guess he's got his side chick in the ethereal realm. I don't know what that's all about, ladies and gentlemen, but very interesting. I don't know. I've never experienced anything like that. I think if I had, I don't think I would be submitting it somewhere. I think that's kind of private, but maybe it's just me. All right, let's go to the next story. This is coming from California, ladies and gentlemen, and this is has to do with psychic medium events. So this is Mr. Graham owned a tiny corner market, and he loved all the children who frequented his store. His smile was absolutely genuine, and his heart was made of gold. Even though he barely made a living selling his wares, he handed out free candy to the children, and of course, this made the kids want to live at his store. They were there before school and after. Mr. Graham spent his afternoons creating tales for us. I love to hear his latest story. Mr. Graham was a great storyteller, the best I have ever heard. He had the ability to make his stories just come alive. And when he spoke, you could hear a pin drop. No one wanted to miss a word he said. If a customer came into the store, they would stop and listen. Childlike wonder would fill their eyes, and Mr. Graham loved to pull in the adults as well as the children, and his eyes would sparkle with merriment when he created individual voices for his characters, and they came alive before our very eyes. I don't know when he found the time to create a story, but he had a new story for us every single day. Each story took us to different places, and we hated it when the story ended, and he made sure to tell us tales of wonderful joy and exploration, and our imaginations went untamed within his story kingdom. Mr. Graham should have been writing books for children, but he said these stories, they were just for us, and he made us feel so special. Mr. Graham, he smiled all the time, but I felt kind of bad for him. His clothes were all worn out, and the knees in his pants were threadbare, and he always smelled like lava soap, and his hair was always clean and combed, and he appeared to take great pride in ironing his yellowed button-down shirts, and there were perfect creases in each sleeve. The worn-out shoes on his feet were always spot shiny. He didn't have much, but he was rich. He found happiness in giving, and he found joy in his stories. He found love through us kids, and I don't think he was too lonely, but I know he missed his wife. You could see it sometimes peeking out from behind the constant smile, a longing for something missing, and it would show, but albeit very briefly. His wife had died years before he had opened the store, and they had never had any children of their own, and I think the visiting children from the nearby elementary school were as close to a family as he would ever have. One sad day, everything changed. After school, my friends and I went to Mr. Graham's store just like we always did, every afternoon, but it was all closed up. No sign, no notice. This was not like Mr. Graham. He was always there, 7 days a week. We all looked at each other in confusion. What could have happened to cause Mr. Graham to abandon his post? Wouldn't he miss us? Maybe he hadn't been able to remember another story, and I tried to think up a reasonable excuse for his absence. We waited for a bit, and when he still didn't show, we had no choice but to go home. That evening, the awful reality would be told to me. My mother sat me down and told me what she had heard. She told me Mr. Graham had died. She had talked to Mr. Graham's landlady at the local grocery mart and been told the awful news. He had had a heart attack, but he had died quickly. Well, I couldn't believe it. This gentle soul had passed away. I didn't get to say goodbye. I knew the other children would miss him dearly when they were told the news by their family members. It just wasn't fair. How could he just go away like that? I was heartbroken. Those story tale afternoons all gone. Mr. Graham's laughter forever silenced, and yes, he would be sorely missed by us all. I cried like there was no tomorrow, and I vowed never to forget his loving and generous nature. I wanted to honor the kindness in his heart, but I didn't know how. He was with his beloved wife, I was sure of it. He had talked about her all the time, and I was sure that they were reunited, and this made me feel a bit better. Time went on, and the store never did reopen. The neighborhood grew, as all neighborhoods do, and the big mall popped up right around the corner. The corner shop belonging to Mr. Graham was quickly outdated and forgotten. I lived about 10 blocks from Mr. Graham's old place, and it was eerie to walk past, seeing it all boarded up, and made my heart heavy. It had been such a happy place, and I had hoped someone would open another corner market and be just as kind as Mr. Graham had been. Of course, it didn't happen, and as those years went by, no one bought the old place, and I hadn't walked in that direction in such a long time, for good reason. It had become run down, and derelicts slept nearby in the shadows, and I was in my teens now, and I remember the decision to walk by Mr. Graham's old place. Nostalgia overtakes the soul from time to time, am I right? Anyway, the sun had just gone down, but I wasn't afraid. This was my neighborhood, and nothing was going to hurt me. I kept telling myself this as I walked toward the seedier part of town. And as I grew closer to the rotting building, it was apparent that nothing had changed. The paint was still peeling, the building was sagging in places, but it was a special place to me. I felt lighter just looking at the old building, memories of gumballs and red hots, story tales, and Mr. Graham's sparkling eyes. Wonderful images filled my head. And all these memories flying through my head, I smiled a little smile when I remember how good Mr. Graham had treated us. We had been so blessed to have had him a part of our young lives, and I was thinking about turning away and heading back when I saw a muted light coming from the old store. I saw a soft glow like candlelight behind the boarded up windows. I wondered if someone was inside. What would they be doing in there? It had to be dangerous to be inside the building. After all, it looked like the place was about to fall down. Well, I tiptoed over and took a quick peek through the cracks in the boards, and what I saw, it surprised the heck out of me. Mr. Graham was sweeping the interior of his disheveled, dilapidated store. Obviously, he was a ghostly apparition, but he looked intent on cleaning up the mess around him. And I watched for a few minutes in disbelief. Without any warning, Mr. Graham looked in my direction. Startled, I froze to the walls, my hands pressed against both sides of the boarded-up window, wide eyes still peering through the cracks. I just couldn't look away. Mr. Graham tilted his head to the right and smiled. And it was like he knew it was me. He winked at me just like he did when he was alive, and I knew at that moment he was okay. No, he was more than okay. I saw the old twinkle in his ghostly eyes. Well, he turned back to his chores, and slowly he faded away. The dilapidated store was as dark as an old, unused building should be, and I walked away with a smile on my face and a light in my heart. Mr. Graham, you will never be forgotten. Wow. That's really cool. A lovely story, ladies and gentlemen. A lovely tale. I hope those kind of stories are true. I think they're beautiful. They really are beautiful stories. Yeah, I mean, who knows, right? But, all right. Anyway, let me close this one, and we'll open one or two more. We'll see how long they are. But we're almost out of show already. It goes so quick, ladies and gentlemen. The portal just flies by. I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope the stream is going okay. I'm having more issues with this thing. At least on screen, it looks like things are going to hell. But let me know if it's still working. Or am I talking to myself here? I get so zoned into the stories, I forget. I forget to keep an eye on things. That's too long, way too long. That one's just too long. This one's better, and this one's coming from Texas. It has to do with family and friends visits. My dad passed away just over a year ago, and it was really sudden and really unexpected. So it has been especially painful, and the shock hasn't worn off yet. 2 years, my husband and I remodeled and added onto our house and built a large 2-bedroom apartment over the garage for my parents to live in. So until his death, I saw my dad every single day. This is the first death I've experienced in my life, and that is someone I was close to, and it has been really, really hard. The night he died, I had a very strange dream that I thought was just a dream until I read some of the other stories on this site, and now I think it was a visit from my dad, my papa. It took place in my childhood home, and yet it was very different on the inside for some reason. And in the dream, I knew my dad was gone, and we were waiting around for family to come over. I wish I had written this all down because now my memory of some of the specifics is getting harder to recall, but I do remember I was in this room sitting on the bed with my dad being there, and I was asking him if he was really dead and had he gone on to another place that I would see him again. And either he told me to or I just did it, can't remember which, put my hand through his body, and I did. And my hand went completely through as if he was just a spirit. I remember doing it several times, and each time I did it was a very warm sensation on my hand. The dream felt so real. Now, after reading some of the other stories here, I feel that it was my father coming back the very night of his passing to tell me that he did go to another place so that I would someday see him again. Since then, I've had about 10 dreams of him, and in some of them, I know he's gone, and some of them I don't. In the ones I do know, I hug him because I know I won't see him when I wake up. Then something other than a dream happened last night. As I was going to check on my youngest daughter, 2.5 years old, at around midnight, I was going back down the stairs by her room, and all of a sudden I smelled Vicks Vapor Rub. Well, I associate that smell with my dad because he used it all the time in the winter. I didn't know where it was coming from, and I went back and then down the stairs to see if I really was smelling it. And it was pretty strong, and I even have a cold and can't smell all that well. 2 hours later, I was still up. I went back to check on my daughter partially just to see if the smell was still there, and it wasn't at all. Then I went to bed and had a dream about my dad. He came walking up to me in this dream, and I realized he had passed, so I gave him a big hug, and several family members and I sat down at a table with him, and after a while, I asked him some questions about the other side, and he answered them. Even though this was only 24 hours ago as I'm typing this, some of the answers I can't remember very well, but I do remember his answers gave me peace. Each time I dream about him, I wake up feeling as though I was just with him, which is so comforting to me, because it makes it seem like he's still there. What is really odd is that this morning, my mom, who was watching my 2.5-year-old, told me that my daughter got into the Vicks this morning and was playing with it in my mom's room, but she hadn't ever gotten into it before, and I find that really odd. My mom hasn't had any experiences like this, only I seem to be the one, and I'm thinking it's because it is I who is having the hardest time dealing with his passing. I still cry almost every night before I go to bed because I miss him so much, and of course, Thanksgiving and Christmas are hard times of the year. It seems like I read or heard recently that those who are the most hurting from a loss are the ones most likely to reach out to from beyond. But who knows? If any of you have similar experiences, I'd love to hear them. Yeah, I think those dreams are very real, and if you're familiar with the show, you'll know I've experienced that very thing. I think it's powerful. I think it's very healing and cathartic, and I think they do come back to see us and make sure we're okay. And that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So, what's not beautiful is that the show is reached an end, and I just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Thank you to all of you who are working hard to spread the word about the Paranormal Portal to people you know who love the paranormal, because we are meeting new listeners all the time. I'm getting people reaching out to me saying, hey, the show was recommended to me. I love the show. Thank you for what you're doing. And it's really cool. I'm doing it because I love it, but I find great joy in the fact that people are enjoying what I'm doing. And that's a real honor to me. And if you have a story of your very own and like to be a guest on our podcast, please email me and let me know, and we'll make it happen. We're always looking for new guests for the podcast. And I mean, you don't have to be a big researcher or investigator. You just got to, be someone who's had some paranormal stuff happen and be willing to talk about it with me. So I'd love to have the chance to talk with you if you've had an experience of your own. Our email is paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. And that's how you can reach out to me, and we'll make it happen. So we got one more call. I guess we're going to squeeze a call in because Naysay doesn't want me to go yet. I think this is Naysay. Is that you, Naysay?
Hello, my brother from the same Mother Earth. Thank you for taking my call. And such as Skimp of the Bell there.
Is what? What about a bell?
Or what is it, just before the bell rings?
Oh, yeah.
Before the bell tolls, I slipped under the radar there.
Yeah, you did,
But I got some weird bizarreness that just occurred. My one phone went dead. Uh-huh. And because I'm in a wheelchair, I have a backup phone.
Okay.
So I go on to the next phone, open up YouTube, and then I wanted to send your number to my other phone.
Okay.
So then, as I'm listening to YouTube, it does this weird break, and then I'm on the phone with you.
Huh.
So somehow, when I went to cut and copy and send it to myself, it dialed you, and because of the lag, it like just fit, so it didn't seem like a disruption at all. And then I go back to the other phone, and it asks me if I want to end my call. And so I end the call, and then the YouTube comes back on.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm like, what? And so then I try to call back, and I literally tried calling back for the last 5 minutes, and it kept saying all circuits are busy on my phone.
Wow. What
But
carrier?
yeah, my own bizarreness.
What carrier do you have?
Verizon.
Oh.
And usually, you know, I'm local and I stay put, and usually anywhere in my home I get a great signal. But that was like the bizarreness. And you know, as we hear the stories that you share, and it makes us reflect, like the last gentleman said about, like, oh yeah, I remember when that happened. You know, but I was going to call in about my thermostat, but I can't remember if I told you guys about my thermostat, about how sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and it's 64 degrees in my home, and then in the afternoon it'll go up to 78.
Oh,
And
geez.
it's not programmed.
Oh, wow. Somebody's wanting a little temperature variation, huh?
Right. But the real reason why I wanted to call is, you know, of course I missed your orb.
Yeah.
I caught the orb story, but I missed the pictures and the photos, of course. But the one thing that I wanted to share is, if you recall, and we're going to go back into the Wayback Machine, there was one time when I called in and I told you guys to take a picture in the studio
Yes.
for an orb. Do you remember that?
Yep, Don did, and we didn't have anything on our pictures.
Right, but because we've talked before about your studio and the bizarreness and what happens. You know, we've joked about that.
Sure.
And I love it because that time when I asked about, you know, people taking pictures, that was the impression I got back then, that you guys had something in your studio.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have no
You know,
doubt.
but I didn't.
Yep.
I'm sorry, go ahead. The lag is really bad tonight.
No, I never had any doubt that there's some weirdness going on here. Did you hear the news, though? Have you tuned in lately?
You know, the news.
Yeah, well, not news, about the show. I actually did an interview with Jenna Bowers, who's a witch, but she grew up living next door, and she told me the story that apparently a teenage boy had committed suicide upstairs in this house back in 2006.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of connects a lot of dots as far as some of the weirdness that goes on here.
Right. And do you remember when we first started talking, and I thought you had an older son in your home, younger
that's
than
right.
your son in Minnesota.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Apparently this guy was a teenager when he did it. So yeah. Yep. I do remember that.
Wow, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, I had no idea
Not
about
bad.
that. Right.
Yeah, nothing in a negative sense or anything like
Right,
that, but just those goosebumps you get where the connection kind of hits you, if that makes any sense.
Oh, sure it does. Yeah, for sure. But yeah. So this orb may be related to that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure there's, lots of different things coming through here, but I try to keep it real well cleansed. So nothing, negative is here, but I hope not anyway, but
Do you have any stones that are like disc shaped to where you could, if you put your intention on it, you could spin the stone and it would stay spinning a little bit? Do you have any stones like that?
Possibly. I mean, I've always been fascinated by stones, so I always pick up stones.
Well, this is an experience that I suggest people to do when they talk to me about, paranormal activity and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To find a flat surface, take a piece of paper, and then put the stone on top of the piece of paper and either make a demarcation on the paper of where something of the stone can be in alignment.
Okay.
Does that make sense? You know, kind of like a top. You know, it's enough to where you give it a little spin, and the stone or the rock will turn.
Right. Right.
You know, but if you put it on a piece of paper, and then some stones have a certain marking or something to where you can make a denotation of if it was rotated.
Oh, yeah.
And then put it on a flat surface, make a mark on the piece of paper where you got your stone in alignment, and then check it the next morning.
Okay. Gotcha.
Just one of those experiences or experiments that I've been, just asking people to do that because, I talk to people about these things, and that's like the first thing I'm like, well, if you want to know, especially if you go to bed with the intent of knowing,
right?
I've noticed that affects it more so if you go to bed with that intentions of like, will you please, make yourself known.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But the only thing that I have a challenge with, I kind of changed that with the intent in that, because I think some people that are really gifted, when they put that intent out there, they may sometimes draw in entities.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think it's resonance. I think it's like magnetism or resonance. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. No doubt about
Right
it.
on, brother. Well, I'll let you go because it's late for you, and I love you all in the PPP Paranormal Portal people. So find the giggles abundantly. They're there. Love you, brother.
I love you, man. Take care. Thanks for calling.
Toodles.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that brings us to the tail end of our journey tonight. Hope you guys all enjoyed it plenty. And I hope that you will continue to show up. I hope you'll continue to spread the word about the portal to everyone you know and love that loves the paranormal. I'll be back tomorrow night. Another Night Terrors is upon us in about 23 hours. So meet me back here and we'll have more fun. But anyway, good night, everybody. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. And be safe. All right. Love you guys. Good night and sweet dreams.